Yeah. Well, I started in Amarillo, and the Amarillo territory is run by Dory Funk Sr. at the time, and of course his two sons, Dory Jr. and Terry. And Terry I knew in college, had gotten to know, when I was going to college. He was ahead of me, but anyway, and they had just started booking for the new company, All Japan Pro Wrestling, about the time I broke into the business. So anyway, they were booking, and they were booking young talent, and I guess I broke in a year or so before, and they ended up booking me over there. So the Funks got me booked over there.
You're a kid from Texas, and you're just pretty brand new in wrestling. All of a sudden, you're in Japan, and in those days, especially with the split between Baba and Hinoki, where they both formed their own companies, there was more attention than ever on wrestling. What were your first impressions, not just of the business over there, but also the people, the country? You came to fall in love with it. What did you think at first?
Well, I'd never been outside the United States, until I went to Japan. So, I mean, here it was. I mean, I grew up watching all these different kind of TV and cartoon shows, and all the
Ultraman,
Japan, and all Japan represented like the cheap toys and all this stuff when I was growing up in the 50s, right? So I had this set mind of Godzilla walking through, through all these boxes of supposed to be the city. And here I am. I fly over. I get off in Haneda, which is the old airport down. It was close to downtown. And as I'm driving out, I can see these boxes, buildings that look just like in the movie with Godzilla. And I was going, golly, this is just. So that was my first impression of Japan, and. Yeah, but the people and everything. I mean, I had my eyes open. I was there with Bobby Jaggers. He had never been there. Larry Zbyszko was there for the first time. The three of us were, just wild-eyed, and it was pretty neat.
Jaggers probably told stories off that tour for 20 years after that. Many of them that may have had some root in credibility and truth.
Probably,
well, maybe none
of them. Maybe
thinking about Jaggers, but
truth.
What was it like getting in the ring with those guys for the first time over there? It was a different style. They played things straight and serious, and it was a professional sport, and they meant what they were doing.
Right. Excuse me. One of the first things they told us, they says, the crowd will be completely dead. I mean, there will be no reaction whatsoever from the crowd, and so don't let that bother you.
Yeah.
Don't try to, intimidate, get them to yell or anything. You just go out there and just be seriously wrestling, and sure enough, you get in the ring, and the only thing you would hear would be the two guys breathing, you and the other guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was it. There was no sound, but the place was pretty much packed, I mean, they were doing good business.
They would almost in some. I remember the early videotapes that I got to see, and it was such a difference in reaction. And they're very polite people, polite culture, and they would applaud great exchanges, almost like a tennis match.
Yeah.
And they would make noise and get into the personalities that are involved, but they would watch intently. They were watching of any other type of sporting event.
That came a little later, I think.
They loosened up to it. They got
I think that came a little later. The evolution. But at that very first time, first time I went, there was basically hardly any reaction at all from the crowd. Maybe they might have clapped at the end. Especially one of the Japanese guys win. Abdullah the Butcher led the tour. And he was a big star over there, and I mean, so he got the people to move and go outside and do a lot of things, to get the people moving. But again, there wasn't that yelling or screaming or anything. Even when that happened, it was kind of a weird deal.
Who besides Abby, who'd been there for a while, who were the other really top Americans at the time that were over in Japan, like Destroyer, who was practically a native at that point?
Right. Well, Dick, or the Destroyer, he was
Dick Byer, Big Dick Hertz, as he used to introduce himself to people when he didn't want to reveal his real name.
Yeah, but the Destroyer was over there. He had his own TV show. He had been over there, I mean, excuse me, for about 7-8 years straight. And he was, I mean, really over to, but he was he was a wrestler, a serious wrestler in the ring, but he was a comedy guy on television. He had a comedy variety show, so a lot of times, anything he'd do sometime would get the opposite reaction over there that you would think. I mean, people would laugh and they'd laugh at him a little bit, but the stuff he'd do. But he was over, and you know, he had been over really big because he had worked against Ricky Dozan way back there, and that was a really serious thing, and that's how he became really part of the Japanese culture. And then as I don't know when he moved his whole family over there and everything, but he had been there a while, a few years anyway. And quick story, I'd say, Bobby Jaggers, you know, I just can't help but think about, we were talking about Dick Byers. We were at this American kind of club. The American guy ran the club and everything, and we were there, and Bobby Jaggers, and they had a mask of the Destroyer, you know, up above the bar and everything, and it was a pretty nice big place and a nice club. And so Jaggers was sitting there, and there's mainly Japanese people there, and anyway, so Jaggers went up, and he got the mask, and he whispers to me, he says, "I'm gonna get some real heat," you know. I don't even know what he's doing. Say he gets the mask down, and it's so stupid, it's so typical Bobby Jaggers. He starts stuffing the thing like he's trying to eat the mask. I mean, you know, that's off the wall to start with, but there was just this dead quiet. I mean, the whole bar. I mean, it wasn't a loud, you know, place anyway, but it just got dead quiet. Everybody's just looking at it. But I mean, they did not appreciate what they did.
It was sacrilegious.
Yeah, I mean, they really cared about, you know, the Destroyer.
Well, Jaggers is kind of. Let's say he was a storyteller. He was a master storyteller. He entertained us a lot in the locker rooms of Crockett and different places, but you couldn't believe him if his tongue was notarized. But the one thing you believed on your first trip was the money, because that was, at the time, that was the biggest money you'd made in the business, right? By far.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I think I got $1,000 or $1,200. I think it was $1,200 a week, and that was big money.
In 1970?
No, it was $1,000, and for the first time, nobody told us. They held out 20% taxes. Yeah. And all of a sudden, from $1,000, and I'm budgeting myself on $1,000. I'd never made more than $250 or $300 a week, you know. And all of a sudden, I'm going over there for 5 weeks. I'm coming back with $5,000, you know. So, but anyway, and then they held out like, you know, 20% taxes. So all of a sudden, I come back. You know, they pay me with $800 a week, and I mean, God, I'm just. You know, I am so disappointed in everything, but yeah.
That was 1975, though. I mean, somebody smarter than me with one of the phones can probably figure out in today's money, you're a young rookie and you're starting out, that's probably equivalent to $3 or $4 grand in today's money.
I mean, it was bigger money. Yeah.
But you told a story in your book when you were teaching school, and you talked to Dory and Terry about how much money you could make in wrestling. They said, "Well, you can make about $300 or $350." Well, hell, I'm doing that now. They said, "Per week?" He said, "No, per month, right?" And so that's the way it got started. But